Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with a Veve Omi update video. Guys, if you're new, welcome. For not, welcome back. I love y'all. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello, Dashi. Commenting, liking, and subscribing is a free way to help support the channel. Non-free ways are Patreon and smashing that super thanks button down below. And become a member. There's some really awesome perks for becoming a member. Also, wraithx.eth domain name. So we have a couple things to go over here, but most of which is going to be a breakdown of that interview with David that I did last night, or today as I'm filming it. I'll just release this video tomorrow morning. Okay, first things first. When Pokemon. Okay, so David did mention that we have a really big IP coming this weekend, or he's hoping is coming this weekend, and the IP is very, very selective about things that it does. It wants to only release a limited amount of certain things, and Veve has worked extraordinarily hard on whatever this IP is, on the animation of it, if they allow it, on the design of it, if they allow it. And if the licensor signs off, we will get a major IP this weekend that what David says is generational. Now, generational can mean a couple of different things. It can mean, oh, hey, it's just for Gen X or Gen Z or, boomers, whatever it is. Or it could mean generational, as in it expands. It spans multiple generations. Just how, like, when Avatar, The Last Airbender, oh, hey, the friendships can last multiple generations and multiple people, even after death. So we're not exactly sure 100% what that means. That being said, I do know with Japanese IP, they're exceedingly hard to go and impress and have everyone sign off on it. You don't just have one or two people that have to sign off, and you have like 13 or 14 people that have to sign off on every little thing. And if one of them says no, it doesn't get done. So I know Pokemon and Nintendo are typically like that in general, but so are a lot of Japanese IP. So everyone's thinking like Legend of Zelda, some people think like Monster Hunter. I mean, anything that has an IP coming out, something this year. We have the Mario movie, which, yeah, we got in the US last month, but we didn't see it in Japan up until like right now. So, you could have something like that happen. You could also have Fast X, the Fast and Furious, the 10th movie. We've had that IP for quite a while. We haven't done anything with it yet, so that's possible. Monster Hunter, same thing. Capcom, same thing. And again, obviously he had mentioned Pokemon as well, saying, yeah, Japan's got a really nice, there's just a lot of IP that even without Pokemon, you have a lot of big different things. So I don't know if he's saying that just because he's saying, oh yeah, in general, Japanese IP is huge, or is, even without Pokemon, as in saying like, hey, don't worry, we have Pokemon IP, but the other IP that'll come out first is fine, or hey, be advised, even if we don't get Pokemon, like if we go down that road where Pokemon is not an option, the Japanese market is so huge. Speaking of not being able to get things and sharing things, the market being huge in general, he also did mention, not specifically by name, he didn't mention Cryptoys or Recur or any other thing, but he just said like, hey guys, be advised, we really celebrate when other companies go out there. And David gets a little sad when people say, oh, is this the end of Veve? Because it's like, no, that's silly. Being the end of Veve is silly when other companies mention other IP, because if you have, let's say like Star Wars, which is going on Cryptoys, David says like, yeah, I know them. I've had talks with them. And as far as I know, the owners of Cryptoys are good people. And, I think the Vader on the Cryptoys is really cute. I think the Luke, I don't like Luke, but that's, I think the Vader is really dope. If you were to give me that Vader, I would buy that Vader. The only downside is, again, Cryptoys is new, so they don't have a marketplace. They don't have the metaverse yet, but, bet your money that either they're going to get those things or they won't. If the drop does really well, then you think that would be good. David says it's saddening when he sees companies like Meta pulling the NFTs from Instagram and Facebook, because, the more companies like Amazon that get into this, the better for the entire ecosystem, for the entire landscape. So competition is something to be celebrated. There's no ill will towards Hero. There's no ill will towards Animoca Brands. No ill will towards anyone, because if one of us succeeds, it's going to be easier for all of us to succeed. Obviously, Veve's leading the way with that, but Veve has so much on their plate already. You do want the IP to spread out a little bit. If Veve's doing high-end premium digital collectibles, you want other places to do the cutesy stuff. If Veve is doing cutesy stuff for the Marvel Mighties, maybe you want other places to do other stuff as well. Marvel, I think, is an exclusive contract. Speaking of which, we were talking about, hey, what's on the list? What's on the agenda for the next year? And David had gone. I mentioned, yeah, we have two or three places in North America that we would like to go. One East Coast, one West Coast. So most likely that's going to mean San Diego Comic Con and New York Comic Con. He hasn't said specifically yet. Again, I'm not even sure that was up to Veve. I'm pretty sure that's just Marvel going, hey, you're our biggest IP. You're going and we're making millions of dollars, not just on the drops, but just on the secondary. Sure, Marvel has to put up some upfront costs in order to go and say, hey, we have to hire these people and have them converse with Veve on a daily basis. We have to have some designers, whatever. And they make a lot of that back, if not a surplus over on the drop. But then those secondary market fees, again and again and again, that they're going to pay on that forever. Yeah, sure, you eat a couple of upfront costs, you make that up on the drop, if not more, and then on the secondary market, Jesus, tap dancing Christ on a scooter. They're going to make oodles and oodles of money on that. Anyway, um, and he did also mention that, yeah, Designer Con had moved to December this year, so we want to make sure that we can get there as well. So I'm not sure. They only said 2 or 3 things in North America. That would mean New York Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con, and then Designer Con. I'm not sure if he means that they got denied or they're just not going to Montreal Fan Expo. He didn't specify exactly which one. We also learned that he needs to change his batteries in his smoke alarm. Everyone comment down below batteries for David. I just think that'd be really fun because that was funny. Also, this Saturday, we were talking about Frank Kozik in general, which brought up Ron English, and Ron English had gone on and messaged him saying this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in New York, that is going to be over on the 20th, that is a Saturday, on 77 Mercer Street, Mercer Street in New York, New York, 77 Mercer Street from 6 to 9. Ron English will have a big thing. He's going to launch something with serial killers, a physical item. I really think a lot of Veve fam, if we can all go and just show up, I think he'll let us in. I think he'll be really excited to go and see us. He did just mention me and maybe one other person, but I think if a bunch of us show up, it'll just be really good for the brand. Oh, hey, a lot of the Veve fam here. We'll all go and wear some Veve shirts. We'll all go and wear some Veve gear and just show our support for Ron English. I just think that'd be really fun. I'll totally go to that. David also mentioned that he's really excited that the search function is getting much better because he said for the Lambo drop, and he had to go and see, oh, how many mints did I do for the last Lambo drop? He had to go and have the search for the Lambo to see how many mints, and the search one, just wasn't working when he was doing this. So he's really excited to see the search bar getting improved and other things improving as well. Also, this is just to kind of like kill some speculation here. Whenever if David ever posts a picture with someone, it doesn't necessarily mean that him and that person have a deal on Veve. That person's coming to Veve. He just really likes to take pictures. You've known that if you've known David for a while. But also, he mentioned that he has 36,000 photos on his phone. He knows that because he backed up the data recently. So, and that does affect him going for Veve drops. It's like sometimes he just doesn't get it. Speaking of which, he has to put in a new credit card because his credit card expired because he was going to get that ED 209 today. And speaking of like the ED 209, they did make about $44,000 today, which is I think is pretty good. They've said he'll go and he'll buy one of those himself, but he also said that, listen, for the particular, when marketing for the particular editions, this is it. We might have a couple weeks worth more of drops that have very low editions, and that's it. I didn't ask him about the Marvel Mighties. Fudge. Oh my god, I should have asked him about that. When we're gonna get those, and for the Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm hoping next week, but we'll see. Anyway, he had mentioned that we are doing marketing. He mentioned this on Veve Magic Stream a little while ago, but he says for the marketing, they're going to have something like a major marketing campaign where the amount of mints that they've been doing will not suffice. They will have to go increase the mint numbers. Not because things are selling out, although a lot of things are, like the Lambos, like the Luke Skywalkers, but he said just because there's going to be more people on the app. So good times ahead. He also seemed a little crestfallen when I talked about, we were talking about, Frank Kozik and some of the works that he has, and David has some amazing works of his, the physicals. And we're talking about, oh, do you have the D-Gen Dungeon, the Frank Kozik scarcest item? And David says, I have the shirt. About 20 were made for the staff, but I don't have it. I was like, well, you might want to wait a little while because be advised, those are $1,000. And he's like, oh, I was like, yeah, be advised, all of his stuff went up like 100, 200%, after it announced of his untimely passing. He's like, oh, like he thought he was going to get it a little cheaper. And then he's like, you thought wrong. Another thing that I asked David about is when we were talking about Frank Miller, when we had the Frank Miller Batman and the Frank Miller Joker that came out a few weeks ago, did better than expected. I said, oh, David, you mentioned that the Frank Miller piece, his art, sold for 2.4 million. Were you the ones that bought it? And he's like, oh no, I don't have that much money. Meaning that I think that a lot of his money does go back into the business. It does go back into Veve and Ecomi. And again, just because you're owner, or at least majority owner of a multi-billion-dollar company, doesn't mean that you have that liquid for cash. It means that it is locked up in shares of the company. Now you could probably use that in order to take out debt, in order to take out raise money on top of that, but it's just like, it's not that you have all of that liquid in cash. It is just sitting in shares of the company. And obviously Frank Kozak has stuff that's rated G, PG, PG-13, and beyond. And I asked David, oh, hey, would we ever get some maybe X-rated stuff on Veve? And David had said, sometimes with Google AdWords, with different things, they'll take stuff off, and we have to go and edit certain things. So to get something like super R-rated or super X-rated is probably not going to happen on Veve. Just they do have the brand of like kind of for family, the KYC stuff for kids. Some people's kids on here are like 10, 13 years old. So fortunately / unfortunately, we won't get that. And again, there's other places to get that type of X-rated art if you want. So if that does happen, it's not going to happen on Veve, at least not anytime soon. Maybe at some point in the future when we're able to certainly gate it, saying, oh, you can only get this, go for this drop, or even look at it if you are of a certain age, like 18 and above, et cetera, et cetera. He did mention at the most recent Patrick Hughes one, whoever got that for a really good price. Like David was meaning to go and bid on it. He just happened to forget about it at that time. It did end about 6 hours ago as of the filming of this video. I think the person got it for like $10,000. It was low 5 figures. Which, be advised, you don't just get the one-of-one NFT, you get the physical copy as well. It's almost as big as that by Steve Cannon, Predator Project, link down below. Anyway, you did get both of those, same as the Predator Project type of deal. And I asked him, saying, who got that Scotty Young? Was it Dan? And David did say, yeah. Dan said he did really like that Scotty Young, the one-of-one that was a couple weeks ago. I think he paid like $8,000 for it, or at least that's what it sold for. So when I asked him about the Binance interview, first I mentioned, David, thank you so much for the comment that you left me saying like, oh, hey, whoever asked these questions, really good. I happened to supply those questions for that Binance interview, most of them anyway. And I'd asked him, would this open your mind to doing possibly other interviews? And I don't mean just necessarily for exchanges. I like Binance, just for other ones in general. And he said, yeah, we really do want to do these. A lot of them is just, time constraints right now. Like right now, we're in the middle of the month. We have stuff to get over. They're not just in the middle of the month. They're in the middle of the second quarter. So it is kind of crunch time for them to deliver for the first half of 2023. We're in Q2 right now. So yeah, he does want to do all these things. They will start doing marketing in general. They're just, David's time, he's being pulled in a million different directions at all times. It does seem a little bit easier though. He says as they've hired more and more people, he was doing like 20 people's jobs at once, but as they've hired more, one job gets taken from him, another, etc. So it does seem like he can focus on what he wants to focus on. For the past like couple of years, David's had chores where he's had to go and focus on things that he doesn't want to focus or work on, but you need to focus on for the company. And you could tell in this interview, it's much he was much happier, much better, things are going so well now in this interview than they were, the last couple. And the last couple that we were still grinding, but David was so tired. He was pulled in so many different directions. He just seemed a lot more well-rested for this, which you really want to see in a company. The company's leader, anyway. Also, we do have a first this week. If they are able to get that major IP off and signed off and we're able to get it on the app, it will be the first time we have a time-restricted thing on it. Like you only have X amount of hours in order to mint this IP, this NFT. And if you do, you get it after those X amount of hours, whether it's 6, 12, 24 hours, whatever. After that, then it's done. You can no longer mint that. So I'm really glad he's taken audience suggestions on that. I think that's really cool. I also asked him about Omi, just saying, oh, hey, I know the terms of service says you're not allowed to do over-the-counter deals for Veve NFTs, but you can do that for Omi, right? If someone has Omi in their account, he says, yeah, we don't offer that as like a product. So you could definitely buy that if someone has it on their account, which is fine. So feel free to go and sell me your Omi on the Veve app. I will buy it from you. Just, comment down below, shoot me a message on Twitter, all that jazz. That's not to say that we won't have Veve on the app in the future. Those might change if we get it on the app at some point. Um, be advised, I when we did this live stream, this 10-hour live stream, we kind of did just put it together last minute. So I didn't really get a big chance to talk to a lot of people. But next time we do something like that, it will be a long one, and I will try to put it out there more to get a lot, and it won't be on a holiday. They also do have a Vegas licensing showing coming up. So if you do live in Vegas next month in June, if you see that, happen to go, if you go and you see him, you might be able to ask him questions. Or if you just people watch and, oh, hey, David's talking to the CEO of this place, to the COO of this place, you might be able to put a couple things together and let me know. Al Kahn is going to be at that as well, so I thought that'd be pretty interesting. Also, when Veveverse, they are going to release new trailers for the Veveverse. I think Dan's going to be taking care of that, but I'm pretty excited for that because there's only so much that we've seen. I want to see a little bit more. When asked about the MCP plus OUP equals loyalty, David said, hey, that's really good. That's coming along really well. Mitch is an amazing guy. He talked really highly of Mitch. He holds him in such real high esteem, so I'm really excited to see that also. So I asked David a very straightforward question saying, hey, you have the VOO and the SPY. That does take a lot of dumb money out of the markets. So if you don't know exactly what to invest in, this is in the stock market anyway, you can go and invest in an ETF that invests in the S&P 500 for you. You don't have to go and do anything. Very much the same is currently happening, at least in the beginning stages of crypto, where you do have metaverse tokens, or if you have Decentraland, or you have Sandbox, or you have something like Omi, which will be listed as a metaverse token, you have that in there. But you also have that's going to happen for NFTs as well. What is your pitch to these companies to include Ecomi and Veve into these ETFs? And David said, well, actually, we don't really have one yet. If you could email me something to read, that'd be great. So comment all your links down below of all the articles and all the papers and all the things that you want that David should read about pitching companies, about pitching licensors, about pitching all of the other financial institutions out there, why they should include Ecomi or Omi into their metaverse ETF, or why they should include Veve NFTs into their ETF of NFTs in the world. I also did have some wonderful things to say about Frank Kozik, Ron English, all the artists that are with Veve, and he just likes to thank the people. He says when licensors come to him and say, hey, how's the market? Like the market's supposed to be bad. How are we doing so well? And David says, well, listen, we do the best that we can, but, it's really because of our fans. Our fans are really dedicated. So he does give credit to the people. He could very well take credit, and he probably should take credit more than he does take for himself, but he does give it out to us. So shout out to him for that. This is really good. This is really exciting. This is a great interview. We're really happy he came by. And big shout out to Queen Veve, Lori Brenner, and shout out to Tamara Hannah, or Tammy, as we all like to call her, for helping me with that. It was great. Thank you all for stopping by. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashie. Bye-bye, Dashie. You did good too. All right, bye guys. Meow, 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 meow. Don't look at me.